I'm doing today is making a beam compass. Now, this is going to be the beam, and it's just a piece of scrap wood. I'm going to use it just like it is. Now, it's about 5/8 of an inch wide this way, 1.5 inches this way, and it's going to end up being about 21 inches long. I do have to trim the back end of it off. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole down through it from the top to hold a pencil. I'll also drill a hole through it this way to put in a bolt, a wing nut, to squeeze it up. Once I drill the holes, I'll split it with a saw down to the hole, maybe just a little beyond, and that way you can tighten it up, squeeze it up on the pencil to keep it in place. Now, I'll also round over these sharp edges on the ends just to make it look, just be a little nicer, a little easier on the hands. Now, the pivot point's going to be made out of this block, and I've already laid it out on here. I have to cut a mortise all the way through, then I have to cut a tapered mortise here for the wedge, and then I'm just going to round it over a little bit, and then on the bottom here there'll be a pin placed right there to pivot on, and I'll cut this out after I do some of the work on it. It's just much easier to hold on to, and then I'll saw it off of this block once I've made the mortise and everything in it. It'll just be much easier. And I'm going to use this piece of wood here for the wedge. It's about 7/16 of an inch thick, so a nice fat wedge. It'll put a lot of pressure on the beam and help hold the pivot point in place. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is drill the holes, and then I'll split it with the saw. is pretty much done. Just to go over what I did, I drilled a hole all the way through from the top to the bottom for the pencil. I drilled a hole across the wide face for a screw and a wing nut, tighten it up, and also split the end down just past the hole for the pencil. And we can tighten it up and it'll squeeze up on the pencil and hold it tight. Now, I rounded over these edges, and I also trimmed off the other end, and it's going to be, the beam is 21 inches now. So, you know, once you put the pivot point on there, should be able to get around about 36 inches plus circle. But that's the easy part, I guess. Now, next I'll work on the pivot point and to cut this mortise out of here. It's going to be the worst part of it. I'll drill most of that out, and then I'll clean it up with the chisel. Okay, now I've got the mortise cut, and I also have the mortise cut for the wedge over here, and I've just got to saw out the wedge and clean it up. And I've got that already laid out. I just need to saw it out, and then I'll just have to do a little bit of work on it to clean it up and do some final fitting with the beam in the mortise. And also, I've got a screw here. I've cut the head off of it. I'm just going to grind a point on this, on the bench grinder, and then I'll just screw it into a pre-drilled hole, and that'll just create the pivot point. Okay, now I'm going to saw the waste off of this block, and I'm using a Miller's Falls Langdon Acme miter box, built sometime between 1915 and 1926. Got a nice old Simon Saw and Steel Company saw. So I'm going to take it, cut it off, and then do a little bit of shaping on the bandsaw. Okay, now I finished up the beam compass. I finished it off, I just sanded a little bit more on it, and I put 3 coats of linseed oil on it. And after that dried, I put a coat of paste wax on it just to finish it off. Now, it's big enough that I could turn about a 36-inch circle. And I don't really think I'd need any more than that. It should do anything that I want to do, I would think. But that's it. Came out pretty good. You know, it's just scrap wood. The hardware that I used up on the end was some stuff that I had. I think even some of that's even used. But that'll do it.